this was something that just came up out of nowhere. You know, this was originally my town hall. A lot of people are asking to hear from different people, which is why I opened it up to the other candidates for the judge. And then as I'm seeing some of the constables around or other people, they said, can we speak if you're getting people together? And I want to give everybody in Goliad the opportunity to hear from all the people they have the right to vote for. That's kind of how that whole thing came about. So when we get to the question and answer section, you are more than welcome to ask the constable or anybody else that's running for office here if they're willing to answer. By all means, I want everyone to be informed. And this is again, it's going on Facebook, so it can get out to people so that they are casting their vote from a position of intelligence when they do that. I know they're right. With that being said, we'll go into the judges deal. I'm happy to go first if you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, well, I thought we were just gonna do questions and answers, but
yeah,
I didn't bring any notes, so.
You know, some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff we talked about in the Republican Forum, that video is already going out, right? So I'm not going to hit on a lot of those same things, except as it has to do with more specifics, right? That was real general. I kind of want to talk more in the specifics for this one, right? But it's going to be condensed. So the first thing I have here is I've given out to a lot of the people is I'm a big working notes guy. So that's an old Army thing, was we jot down notes, we keep notes, and we add to it or take away from as things go. You know, it's kind of a really in-depth to-do list, right? What I've given out tonight is my working notes for this year before whoever takes office, right? If it's me, if on March 3rd or in May, these are the things that I'm focused on and working on for the rest of this year. You know, I do feel that we're given a pretty big gift with only being Republicans running. This gives whoever the candidate is a vast amount of time to get their ducks in a row and really hit the ground running come January 1st, right? So here's a lot of things I want to focus on, right? And anybody who's watching the Facebook later, if they're interested in the working notes for 2026 or my working notes that I have for 2027, if I take office, come by the NTEX office and we'll print you out a copy. All right, just know that I'm adding to these every day, every week's kind of a deal. So the version you get may be outdated in a few days, or more stuff be added to it, right? So I think it's important that we are number one in the know, and to do that, you have to be present. You got to go to the commissioner's court meetings. You got to go to city council meetings. You got to be at the school board meetings, right? You have to show up to the volunteer fire departments for their business meetings. Now, you may not be able to make every single one every single time, but if you're there consistently enough, you get an idea for how things are running, how things are operating, and that gives you a bigger picture of the battlefield to make sound decisions, right? Knowledge is the key on everything that you do, right? So without being present, you're not going to gain that knowledge, right? You know, this gives us an opportunity all year long to meet with every department, meet with all the elected officials. Helps you form your plan for how are you going to hit the ground running again at January 1st. See them in their day-to-day routines. All right. If you walk into the office consistently and you can tell, hey, this employee is always getting after it, always doing something, always asking questions, the only way to know that is to be present and see that in their natural environment every single day. If they know you're coming, anybody can play the game for a day or an hour or a couple minutes, right? But if you can build patterns and see that stuff, it's important. For the departments, in the meetings, all of that stuff comes together for you to get that big picture, right? It gives you an opportunity to go to our neighboring counties, right? A lot of these counties around us are small, maybe not as small as we are, but they have good ideas too. A lot of things have already been done. So maybe you go to the B County meeting, B County Commissioner's Court, and they're doing something that really would work here in Goliad County. Being a presence and seeing those things, getting those ideas allows you to come back and implement that here if it works, and if it doesn't work. All right, ride-alongs. Everyone talks about the sheriff's department, the EMS, the fire department, emergency management. What are they doing? Well, guess what? Now we have months to do ride-alongs with this deputy, with this ambulance truck. Go out and see how is the fire service in Fanning responding, or Berkeley or Schrader, all those kind of things, right? That gives you, again, these are all services that it's our responsibility as a county to provide. Why don't we get an accurate picture of actually how they're doing? Because essentially we're going to control their budget. They're going to come to us for money or resolutions on certain things. We need that information to be able to make a sound decision. You know, I think it's important to hit the ground running on day one, right? So January 1st, you're sworn into office, right? That's a Friday. which means first day back to work is a Monday, January 4th, right? So I want to, at 09 on January 4th, have a meeting with all department heads and get it together and have a game plan and explain to them, this is how we as a commissioners court are doing business from now on. Likewise, at 1300, every county employee coming together. And as a united front, because all the departments that have met and are on the same page, we're laying that plan out for every employee. So they know this is how we're doing business moving forward, right? And then a much more ambitious goal, that first week, January 4th to January 8th, sometime in there, that we'll set up sometime this year, get every single member of every board for every taxing entity in Goliad County together to get in the same room and discuss things moving forward. All right, we talked about it in my speech at the Republican Forum. Not a secret, relationships are bad among everybody in Goliad County, right? With our meetings on January 1st, we're taking care of the county departments, but we need to get on the same page as far as all the entities, right? And that's what that first meeting is for. Hash out any differences we have now and get them settled above board. And then what are we doing moving forward? There needs to be open lines of communication. How are we setting that up? That meeting is where we set it up. And that could be as simple as the judge, superintendent, mayor, president of the water board, all those people are getting together for breakfast once a month or lunch once a quarter. Whatever we deem is the most efficient way to consistently move forward is what we'll sit together right there and get that stuff going. All right? We don't got to wait on things. I talked about revenue being the biggest issue for Goliad County. I'll talk about that a little more in a minute, right? We need to bring in more revenue. We need to go out and find it because I'm telling you now, we are going to get hundreds of no's. And there's going to be hundreds of, we just can't make it work because they need more money, more land, more power, more water that we can't give up. All right? So we're getting turned down 1,000 times. We're after that one yes. We need to start that right away. Texas EDC sends out lists of EDCs. And I talked to a member of our community who sits on the San Patricio Economic Development Committee. And he says their president gets lists from the EDC, Texas EDC, of companies looking to expand, right? We get a hold of that list. We make our own list. We start making calls, sending emails, knocking on doors to them, going and seeing them, all right? Again, thousands of no's, thousands of we can't make it work. We need to start that because that's going to be a long, time-consuming process. Sooner we start, the better off we'll be. We've talked a lot about universal road systems, right? I hear that all the time, right? And I know, David, being the former commissioner, has looked into these before, right? It didn't work at the time for that deal when they were looking at it. Maybe it works now. What I'm saying in front of you is nobody knows that if it'll work right now. What we need to do is go do the time and effort, get the details, come back and workshop it, and see, will a full universal road system work for us here from dollar standpoint, from maintenance standpoint, from efficiency standpoint, or will it not? Or is there a hybrid system somewhere in the middle? We need to get all of this data to put together and sit down in a room and figure it out, all right, with the commissioners. And that takes time, right? So why won't we work on that now when we have a couple of free months to really take the time and put towards that stuff, right? Budgets. I have spent a huge amount of time going through budgets, right? I am literally on year 11, consolidating every single number from every single budget and seeing where we sit because historical trends matter, right? This is time consuming. You don't want to be figuring this out and run these numbers when you're sitting in that chair. We need to know that stuff ahead of time. So we're accurately planning for that stuff. All right, this is what matters to us. Vice versa, again, back to the revenue thing. Pulling the numbers and knowing what comes from where, right? It came to my attention the other day that in my speech, I talked about 70% of the revenue in Goliad County in our tax base comes from industry. And the way I said the power plant made it seem like I was talking about only the power plant. It's not what I meant. What I meant was industry, business, everything but residential taxes is over 70%. It's actually about 76% comes from industry, business, commercial properties, all of those things, not your homes, right? If you look at your number for your homes, residential single-family homes is 15% only, 1-5. Total residential across ag use land, so on and so forth, is about 24%, right? We need to know this stuff to know what we're going after and who we're looking but how we're looking to change that. Because again, the best and worst thing about Goliad County is that we are a small tax revenue county, which means every single dollar matters. Every single dollar matters. We have to watch it consistently, every year, every day, throughout the entire process, right? But that also means that a little bit of money makes a big, huge impact on us, right? So we don't have to go out and knock down $5 million, $100 million deals, right? Bringing in $100,000 here, $500,000 here, $1 million here makes a huge impact on us and makes a difference. And if nothing else, gives us the breathing room to keep going. Where if we're a bigger county, $5 million doesn't even make a dent. $500,000 makes a huge impact. Makes a huge impact on us for those kind of things. And the last thing is, again, being a presence. You know, a lot of people say to me, in every single elected official, not just the judge, they come around for our vote and we never see them again. All right. Well, I'm hearing that, and I wrote that down on my working notes for 26 and my working notes for 2027. That won't be me. All right. Again, I'll make it a priority, and my wife is gonna hate this, right? She's already complaining how much time I'm putting into this deal right here, right? But that's what you do. That is the price of leadership. It's accountability. It's responsibility, right? You need to be a presence. All right. The commander can't go to the front lines. Never, right? They have to go consistently know what the troops are doing, right? The principal can't sit in the office and got to go to the classrooms, right? The county judge, the commissioners, they can't lead from the commissioner courtroom. They need to get out with the guys that are out there and know what's going on. And that is in the county, in the other entities, in the organizations of Goliad County. We, as a commissioner's court, are the face of the county. We need to be out there so people can see it. All right, that is important. I think it's important. I'm glad everybody came today. My biggest thing, I want everybody to have an informed opinion about myself and the other candidates before they go cast their vote, right? There is no government that makes a difference on your day-to-day life more than local government. All right, you're going to see the politicians, us, on a day-to-day basis, at lunch, at the feed store, out and about at the gas station, right? We're accountable to you, right? And you're going to see us every day, all right? I'm not Congressman McLeod that you, our chances are never going to see, because I've got 500,000 constituents. I've got 7,000 who I live with next to and do business with every single day, all right? And I want you, and you should, keep all of us accountable, right? I am accountable to you, and everybody in the county is accountable to the Commissioner's Court as a group. And we as a Commissioner's Court, I can promise you this, will start keeping people accountable. And if we're not, tell us. All right? Again, thank you for coming, and please get everybody out to vote that you can. Thank you.
Can't see your notes. So I came to this. It was advertised question and answer session because we did our deal on the at the forum, like you said the other day, forum. And so anyway, a lot of stuff. Me and Corey pretty much agree on a lot of things. Getting together with the cities, the schools. I can bring in the experience, the time that I was a commissioner at for 8 years. Plus, I've had a business here with the public for 35, almost 40 years, probably 40 years. My businesses were the type of businesses that if you didn't make your customers happy, they didn't come back. So, little town of Goliad, you lose customers, you lose a business. I helped start GoCo Wireless. It was a needed internet business because everybody still had dial-up or the satellite crap. I invested money into that, where the other 3 partners each had an investment in it. And we did this for the people, not thinking we were going to make a bunch of money at it, but it was for the people so they would have good internet. And with no idea of how it was going to end up or come out. But we did have a partner that had a business up in Lakewood that pretty much told us it would do well. And we sold out to Darren Bammert. Not Darren Bammert, Darren Gritzmacher. He wanted to keep it as family business, so the other 3 sold out. Anyway, working with the city, we in I guess my second year, we had problems in the auditorium. I went with this to the city because we're joint owners with the county, and we needed a roof on it because the top of it was a swimming pool, and when the swimming pool leaked, it ruined the floor. Of course, everybody knows that. So I went with them. It took a year and a half to get this roof on because in government, like I said the other night, you move like a turtle. Where in private business, you can move like a rabbit. But we got it on and I mean, everybody was happy. The city, we worked together, we made decisions, we split the cost. There were not a lot of grants out at that time. The grants started coming when COVID hit, and that's so back then they were pretty chinchy with grants. The government, federal government. Now they're getting chinchy again, I believe. But anyway, we got that put on before the hurricane. The hurricane hit 3 months later, and all we lost was a downspout. Joint working together. I wasn't their boss; they weren't my boss. We worked together. We worked together with the contractor that had done roofs for the school, for the city, for the county. So it all worked out well. Um, as far as getting everybody together, I thought of that too. You can ask Kenneth Edwards. I spoke about that. The situation in the courthouse right now is I'm gonna say is not friendly. Um, it COVID, we got locked out of the courthouse. Three, maybe four of the commissioners, but three of us held a meeting on a Ford truck's hood. How do you run a county with millions of dollars at stake off of a Ford truck hood in the parking lot? They locked us out of the courthouse. I had two mailboxes and I had invoices to turn in, and I'm going to tell you what happened. I went the next day. I read the website said it was closed to the general public. I was not the general public. I had business there. My office, I considered, was the courthouse, not my precinct. I went, knocked on the door. The assistant of the judge answered the door and told me nobody was coming in, and I told her I was not the general public and I was coming in. She backed off, ran into her office. Judge came out. I got a full recording, audio and video, of the conversation. Luckily, there was a deputy that had been in there. Nobody was allowed in the courthouse, but yet here was a deputy doing paperwork. I'm not saying I'm over the deputy, but I figured maybe I was equal to this deputy. I had business. There was charges filed against me for doing this. Of course, with the audio and video I had, turned it into the DA's office. Nothing got, that was end of it because I did not assault anybody. So anyway, that's what we've been dealing with the last, 8 years. That was my last 4 years. My first 4 years, we did great. We went through a hurricane. After we cleaned up our precinct, we came to Goliad and helped clean up the area here with the school kids, with the other precinct workers, with the city. Uh, everybody showed up, and and we did a great job. I'm proud of it, and I think everybody that was part of that should be proud of what we did at that time. What else you got here? There again, I came for a question answer deal. Again, I'll say I was in 8 years. I finished all of my curriculum hours that over and beyond what they required. We would Kenneth Edwards just came back from a class in College Station, one of the best classes they provide for judges and commissioners. They teach us things from. He told me now they're talking about the screwworm problem and to bring this information back to you, and water problems. They talked about that also. When I was in there, there was it was probably about four years ago. Because of COVID, they came out with it was type of a grant, but every county in the United States was going to get a part of this money, and it was a recovery. They called it. It was a recovery grant. Anyway, that money we learned in our classes that we went to was not to be spent, which was a 1.2 million, I think, at the time, until it had been okayed by commissioner's court. We get in the commissioner's court several meetings later or whatever, and there's a agenda item talking about this $200,000 that got spent, not wanted to spend, but got spent before being voted on by the commissioner's court. This was a felony. But being Goliad, and we all work together and want to get together, we okayed it, and nothing went any further. I don't believe in breaking rules. I don't believe in hiding things from the other people. I want the cameras back on. I want the audio back on. I want people in this county, they don't have to come to our meetings. I want them to be able to see everything that's going on. I want a report. At every meeting, there's an agenda on the agendas. There at the beginning has a report from the extension office, a report from the JP's office. We don't see any of that. Never have. We need to have them and get the people educated on what's going on, where their money is being spent. I am a taxpayer. I pay a lot of taxes. This is money I'm spending, so I'm going to make sure it's spent correctly. Let's go on. The surrounding counties. Right before I got out, the solar farms, we were looking for revenue. We heard the power plant was on close. I felt real sure, and I felt in my heart that this power plant was not going to go away. Governor Abbott already had said, we're not shutting down any more of these fossil fueled generating plants, electricity plants. So here came 3 more solar farms up on the agenda. A lawyer was hired out of Austin to represent us, but he was paid for by the solar farms, and he wasn't on our side, and I knew that. Anyway, some of the commissioners, and I'm okay with how people vote. They give me a reason. There again, when I told my girls no, I gave them a reason. When I told them yes, I did the same thing. So anyway, when it came my time to talk, I told them I had notified or talked to every county in our surrounding area that had these solar farms. No abatements, none, because they bring nothing to your county, nothing. A little bit of tax money, and now they're not bringing in what they said they were going to bring in. So I looked, the guy from UK, he's from the UK. They're all owned by out of the country companies, and I told him, I know y'all are our allies, but you're going to screw these landowners. In 20 years, you're going to file bankruptcy because all this stuff's going to be junk, and you're going to walk away with all this crap on their land. I am a landowner. I don't believe in crap on my land. So I voted against it. They wanted a 70% tax abatement. Who out here gets 70% off of their taxes? Nobody. Maybe give them a little bit. Maybe give them 20% for just that a boy can come in the Goliad, But they were after the highlands, and they were after the flat country, and I voted against it. We gave away $3 million of tax dollars that night. $3 million. We're going to get maybe 800,000, maybe 900. I'm hearing now it might be 600,000 or 700,000. They've already backed off on some of this. DCP got an abatement, 10-year abatement. They come out of the abatement and they sue us. They sue us. Cost us, I think, $1 million this past year.
1.1.
Yeah. You know, I asked that, you know, can we put in the contract that they can't sue us? And of course, a lot of people laughed at that, but it's just, it's terrible what has gone on. But that happened a while back. I'm not saying that happened recently. EMS, I worked hand in hand with our EMS. Every time there's a new administration, and I know Corey won't want to do this, but in the past, we needed privatize. Well, privatize comes with private companies. They make money running up and down the road, hauling people from maybe nursing homes to hospitals or doctors' offices and things like that. They say they're going to put 3 units in your town. That's not a guarantee. If they want to pull 2 of those units, they do it. At the end of the year, if they've recovered $300,000, $400,000 out of their runs, the taxpayers were going to pay the rest. The other, probably it's a $1 million business, probably our cost, right? The EMS was guaranteed for Goliad after the hospital shut down. It was the judges and the commissioners at that time almost set it in stone. We would not get rid of our county EMS. I fought for that, and every time, you know, we get a new administration, it was looked at. But we're still sitting at a $1.2 million. That's been that way for 10, 12 years. So we have a great director again. We had a good one last time before John Creech. Before that, Peggy Fonseca did real well, and I don't know, she started getting a little political. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, John jumped in and saved us, and he retired. We hired another director, and with this administration we have right now, they put him in a mental hospital, hammering on him about different things. A lot of it was bringing in money. There again, you know, what are you going to do if somebody doesn't pay their bill? You know, you do your best to recover these bills, but a lot of these people are elderly. Are you really going to take their home or whatever? You don't. So we write a lot of that off, but we recover a lot of it. Where it's getting better and better every year. So
Yeah, can I give our current EMS director a plug real quick, because she does a fantastic job of that. I think you brought in like $700 million or $700,000, Holly, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's streamlined. It's important to note that a majority of that comes from insurance, right? So that's getting the right people involved. I think that's what comes down to privatization. You know, it's right. Who's running it. If you can get somebody good who really gets after it and is able to run it efficiently and then bring in money, no one should even look at it that way. And Holly, you're doing that. I want everyone to know that out there. Thank you for everything for what you do.
And of course, all the other entities, sheriff department brings in money, of course, and the constables. I guess you can say JPs also, but commissioners, we never brought in money. I mean, we spent money, but we tried to keep our precincts safe for the people that lived out there, and that was our number one job, was to keep everything safe, and then do our county business. Somebody asked me the other day, what do I think I have to offer that's more than what Corey, because Corey's a very good candidate for this office. I agree. I have full-time. I am retired. I got cows. That's all I deal with. I got lights on equipment I can feed at night. I have experience, 8 years of experience. I still keep up with the judges and commissioners that I met back in the 8 years I was in there. I still talk to them on the phone, see them on Facebook, talk to them on Facebook. I I can hit the ground running because I've been there and done this. I want that office open. I want the door open. I want a great assistant like we had with Pam Long that worked for everybody. She didn't just work for the judge. She worked for everybody. She was our assistant also. She scheduled our meetings, our classes. Classes are very expensive, very important. They're not cheap. They're not cheap either. I just said that. But uh, we have to take these classes. And there again, like me and Kenneth always say, it's not what we learn always in the classes, it's what we learn from the other commissioners and judges. Because usually, if we're experiencing something, you're going to find it with another judge or commissioner that has had the same problems, and find out what their fix was, and that's there again puts us ahead of the cart. Anyway, fire departments. We visited the fire department the other night, Fannin. Uh, they need help. They need help, and they're not just domino playing beer drinkers anymore. Back when I was in high school, out of high school, I joined one of the fire departments, and that was the biggest thing, was going to a fire meeting and drinking beer and playing dominoes. I always felt like some of them, when they got the fire whistle out, they jumped in the fire truck, stopped at the local store, and filled the ice chest with beer and ice, and then went to the fire. But it's not like that anymore. They have great equipment. They have great training. These guys, or these people, they're not guys, they're men and women, are definitely trained as well as any fireman in Houston, Victoria, San Antonio, whatever. And they are dedicated, and they don't get paid. They don't get paid. They get that a boy. That's what they get. I'm gonna tell you something else I hear. That I am going to defund the police. The police. I'm going to defund the police. That's what the word is out there. I don't know where it's coming from. Defund the police. Anyway, in other words, I'm going to take their budget away. No. We're going to look at everybody's budget. Corey's going to do the same thing. We got to look at everybody's budget. When I was commissioner, I invited DPS, the constables. Let's work these areas. Let's get this waste strip open. My brother-in-law opened that during Harold Gleinsner's period. He begged them to open it, and they fought him a little bit because of the expense. He not only brought in what he told them he was, I think he doubled or tripled it. It was amazing what he brought. And this wasn't from Goliad people. This was people running down the highway in trucks that were pretty soon going to kill somebody. And then they got to call the hammer to get them out of that deal. But we need that waste strip open. We need all law enforcement to work together. Several years ago, the DPS and game wardens got moved out of their office. Not good. We always gave them a little budget. It might have been $1,000 or whatever. But I always said you invite them to the party. And if they don't come to the party, they don't come. But if they do, thank God they do. Because we need all the law enforcement. We need them all to help us. And we have a major highway that there's ugly stuff goes up and down that highway. And we can't just fight it with the sheriff department. The sheriff department, there again, we'll get back on the fund deal. I'm not. I don't plan on doing that. I want to sit down with their budget. The Roy Boyd, I've known him a long time. Friends, we talked. I would call him sometimes in Victoria and ask him questions about different things before he came to Goliad. When he got to Goliad, he got elected in, he right away started working with Kirby Brumby, the sheriff at the time, with different cases and stuff. Brought in some of the big time Victoria maybe ideas and training. Did a great job. He started his job here on that January 1st, and hit home runs. And then here came COVID, and here came stories about people coming to Goliad and burning cars and things like that. So he jumped on it. He got us grants. He went where the federal government wasn't giving him money. He went to the state and he got us money. So he worked a lot of this, and his budget was that 2.2 million up to that point. And of course with the grant it added to his budget, but there again it wasn't the local taxpayers' money. Now, with our new administration sitting in Washington, they've closed this border. That we're not having the problems. People, I mean, people camping out in our pastures. I found the stuff myself in my own pasture where they had water. They had a pond there to bathe in and things like that. We found the water jugs. We found the shoes, the clothes. No bones ever. But he did a knockout job. And but a lot of that is going away. The budget is still high. Some of it is grant money. I can't get a total number of what his budget is ad valorem versus his grant money. I can't get these answers. So I want to meet with him. I've tried to meet with him, and I think somebody's put in his ear that I'm gonna put him to the dirt, and I'm not. I am not that guy. We need law enforcement in Goliad. There again with the highway traffic, things like that. Industry coming to Goliad. We have of course the power plant. We have a railroad that comes there. At one time, Goliad was a major place. It had the crossroads, 2 lanes. We had a railroad track. The railroad track went away. They built the 4-lane from Victoria down to the valley going through Refugio. Goliad, they built it to Goliad when they talked about going from Beeville to Laredo. It got stopped for some reason. Some people were not happy with maybe them taking their land along the edge of the road or whatever. So TxDOT shut it down. It is still on the books to do. I've seen that on the plans, but we will welcome that bypass. Goliad, the people that come to Goliad, the city of Goliad, are going to come to the city of Goliad. They come for the touristism and the Presidio and things like that. The bypass will go north of town, probably cut in on this side of the Minoway, go around and cut in back onto the highway on this side, San Antonio River. No bridges. It's TxDOT. It's going to be not very expensive. So, but along that highway, that bypass will be commercial property. Refugio's fighting a deal, I believe. They're going east of Refugio, and it's all big ranches. And I've heard that the big ranchers are not going to sell their property for commercial. That's going to hurt Refugio. Refugio's not much bigger than Goliad. They have, I think, only one other incorporated city, but we only had this one. So we're gonna build. The people that are along there. Of course, there's some houses there. They have to sell. I'm sure. You hate to do that to people, but if they're going to pay them the right dollar, then they will move and build somewhere else. But commercial, there's no room in Goliad. There's no room south of Goliad to build things like this because it's all big landowners still, and they're not going to do it. I get it. I'm not giving up my land for anything. They have to come take it. So anyway, I guess that's about it.